I sat down with Joel Lindstrom and we talked about how being yourself is your secret weapon. It's not your expertise or your communication skills, which you may think. Joel started his Microsoft journey back in 2007 and is a leading voice in the industry. He even built an entire practice from scratch all the way to being a Microsoft Partner of the Year. He will tell you he couldn't have done it on his own, but nonetheless, we discuss the tangible things that made a huge difference in his career right now. Let's go. Hey, welcome to this week's episode of Power Talks. My name is Griffin, the host of the Citizen Developer channel and Power Talks podcast. And today I'm joined by a special guest, Joel Lindstrom. Joel, thank you so much for being here. I can't help myself. Every single week I'm like, I'm so excited for this conversation. It's just a part of the intro now. But I mean that. I mean that every single time talking with new people. In getting to know you, you have mentioned that thinking you needed to be like everybody else was something you had thought in your career and that you learned it was a mistake. I think that's really insightful. And I kind of wanted to ask you why are you now so sure that that was a mistake, and how did embracing your uniqueness change your career?
Yeah, Griff, thanks for inviting me to be part of this. I mean, I love your channel, and it's like you've been hitting my favorite people. I mean, you had Duke on, you had Daryl Labar, you've had all these people that I've known and worked with closely, and so yeah, I'm glad to get to finally be on here and talk to you. So yeah, so embracing your inner weirdness is something that I kind of stumbled into, but my background is fairly unique in that my background before getting into this line of work in 2007, because I'm an old timer, was I was in sales. So out of college, my first job was selling copiers and fax machines. You remember fax machines? You probably don't, but
I do not.
anyway, they were awesome, and they're still used by many doctors' offices and lawyers' offices. But they were cutting edge technology there. I mean, we're talking 14.4 modems and everything, and all that. And then I knew somebody who worked for a company called DataStream. And DataStream was a company that was selling maintenance management software. I can't fix anything to save my life, Griffin, but basically this is like predictive maintenance software, and it turned into enterprise asset management software. So when I come to Hitachi, which we were called Customer Effective at the time, we became Hitachi in 2014, but effectively the people who were leading the company were people that came from DataStream. And the way the origin story of our company, which I don't know if you've heard this story before, but it goes back to basically in the late 90s, early 2000s, CRM systems were terrible. You had Siebel, you had Onyx. We were using keyboard, like green screen keyboard shortcuts in Onyx to start log a phone call activity and all this stuff that was just painful. And at that time, that was when Salesforce was starting to come up. They were nowhere near the size they are now. But our leaders met with Microsoft and said, "Hey, do you have anything you're working on?" They say, "Yeah, we got this thing called Microsoft CRM. It wasn't called Dynamics back then." And I sound like an old timer reminiscing about the good old days. But essentially, they started the company, and through that connection, I came to work here. I thought I was interviewing for a sales role, and they said, "Joel, you need to work on the delivery team." And and at that point, there was no cloud. It was all, you had to go on a server and stick a CD into it and install it. And there were this config file you had to configure, and XML files and all. And I basically always wanted to get into more technology, but I didn't have the credentials to do it. But I had done things on my own, building computers, writing XML files, very light programming. I wasn't even really coding, but it was, doing very light things like that. And so they saw through that I had not only the ability to understand the technology, but also the ability to talk to customers. This thing with very technical people, they're very smart, but they're not always good and comfortable talking to people. And so I look at the things that I did that I had no game plan. Like, I was a marketing a marketing management major in college, and what we learned has no relevance to anything people do today. I went into sales, then I went into delivery, but it's come full circle, and that's where when I came in, I saw people who had been primarily in project management or development roles, and I was scared because it's like I am nothing like them. I can't do it. And the funny thing was, we had at the time, our leaders had this idea, well, let's do these kind of personality exams and find out what what our top performers are like, and hire more people like them, which I think is a terrible idea because then you get a bunch of mini-me's. But essentially, I learned through that I could be effective doing in certain areas where other people struggled. I'm more comfortable walking into a meeting where a customer wants to talk about something that I have no clue what they want to talk about, and through doing that, I very quickly dug into things like the forum and other things like forums and things like that. YouTube wasn't a thing back then, but we had forums, blogs were starting up then, and by doing that and learning and kind of being the sponge to soak that up. But initially I was kind of like, oh, I don't want to, like, they might think that's weird, or like everybody's all serious on calls. But even things like breaking the ice with self-deprecating humor, I mean, I use it all the time, and everybody can relate to Teams and gripes with it. I think Teams is a punching bag unfairly. But they've started this thing where you log on to a call and you're muted. Even if it's like me calling you, it mutes us both at the beginning. And I hate that because I always start talking and like, Joel, you're muted. So I just make that a joke. I laugh at myself and say, hey, I'm notorious for not muting myself. And by doing that, being able to laugh at yourself and things like that, and owning your weirdness. I have behind me a replica of Weird Al Yankovic's accordion that includes every one of his albums on vinyl. I mean, I own it. I put it out there on the shelf, so I own my weirdness. And again, I don't make a big deal. And you can take that too far. I mean, you can try and be avant-garde and in a distracting way. You need to do your job. You need to be good at what you do. But in the process, I mean, who do you remember from college or people you worked with? Was it people that did what everybody else did, or was it people that were unique in some way?
Sure. Man, okay, so you're right. You're right. It is the people that are unique and that, leave a lasting impression. And I think about that as well. One of the early episodes that I had with this was with Chris Huntingford. And
I love
he
Chris.
said something that really stuck with me. He is like, he was at least kind of the first person I talked to that like really owned his personality. But he said something really insightful to me, and he had said that he was wearing like this rainbow unicorn shirt in the episode. And he was like, I can wear funny shirts like this because I'm good at what I do. I'm not good at what I do because I wear funny shirts like this. And I thought that was really good, and it taps into what you're saying in that like it is like being in a virtual world where we work fully remote. I mean, sure, we try to get on site to every client and be able to spend time in person, but like it's really hard to feel human through Teams, and you're working with these people, and I mean, we're expensive resources at the end of the day, and so it's like, how do we make ourselves more human? I think you're hitting the nail on the head with whether it's self-deprecating or just being unique and bringing humor to the situation while still making sure you're locked in on getting your stuff done. That you are still good at what you do. You're not just a clown.
Right. And here's another funny story. I kind of feel I got my job here because of office pranks. And I'll tell you what I mean is I kind of built a reputation of doing funny Photoshops of coworkers at DataStream. And the founders of Customer Effective knew about this, and I always made sure that I was hitting my as much in my control, hitting my billable targets. But they started coming to me and saying, "Hey, I got this buddy that's retiring, and I want to make something for him." So it's like that actually kind of helped, and it was kind of like I was kind of worried like this would backfire. But you mentioned Chris. I got to tell my Chris Huntingford story. I got a bunch of them, but
go ahead.
He worked for Hitachi Solutions. He worked for Hitachi Solutions UK in pre-sales before he was involved in the community before those dynamic guys. And I was able to experience Chris at his very first conference in the U.S. He came, I think it was for UG Summit 2017, 2018, and I met him as he walked into the hotel after his long flight from the UK, and his first words were, "Dude, I need some beef." we had to find him. We had to find him some steak to eat so he could be powered to, because has so much energy and energy to go on. But yeah, I think it really underscores he's a great example of that. And there's people, I mean, it's like I would get in projects or things like that, and every conversation we would have would be about the project, about the problem, about the customer, which is good to be focused on that, but we would be on site. And we would be, after hours, we're at a restaurant and we're still talking about the project. I'm like, we need to talk about something different. We need to have conversations. And that's, I think, what makes and why our Power Platform core group is so strong, because they really they like each other. They have conversations on Teams over the weekend about stuff and share what they're doing and things like that, because we know their personality, we know where their weird spots are, and we make fun of them in a non-threatening way. I've got one of my colleagues that I've worked with for years is Jerry Martin, and we have great. One of my favorite Jerry stories is we were in a meeting and we're recording the meeting, and he was apparently not using good office chair posture, and suddenly Jerry's gone and there's this great wah sound, and of course I took the clip of the meeting and made a little gif out of it. It was awesome.
That's funny. That's good. No, man, okay, I have one thought on this. You're talking about photoshopping people together.
Yes.
So back 3 years ago when I first started, I don't know if Mark and Joseph Tanner are listening, but I had made this. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes.
I hope they're listening. Also, man, we were a rambunctious crew. We also took, a lot of these people aren't even at Hitachi anymore, but had taken a bunch of different people and photoshopped them under the Star Wars thing. You got like Will McClendon and
Is that
Chuck
Chuck?
and
Okay.
yeah, and everybody down in there, and some launchers and some OGs from the launch program. So
I
that's so
tell
funny
you,
you say that.
AI has made all that so too easy now. Back in my day, I used Paint, on Windows XP, man.
I'm
It took
pretty sure
work to
that's what
do
I
it.
was doing. Either Paint or like PowerPoint. Like it's just a PowerPoint slide,
Yeah,
and I was
yeah,
adding these
exactly.
photos. Well, sweet man. I hear you. I find too, like, advice to people who are maybe newer in their career or aren't like a senior position. It's like you're like in the perfect spot to be the scapegoat of like the self-deprecating humor. Because I feel like a lot of times if you're in like a senior level position, the company, like the client may expect you to, kind of be a little
Yeah.
bit more professional and like, whatever. But like, I find that like in my role sometimes, like, it can be so easy to just be like, the young professional dude who's just like, having fun and like, as well as, getting my work done and building that brand and that I guess not brand, but relationship with the person. It's like the perfect spot in my
Yeah,
opinion,
I think the
to be
key
able to
word
do
is
that.
self-awareness. That might be two words, I don't know, but self-awareness meaning knowing how to read the room, especially involving the customer. There is a risk there, and again, I've been in the case where the client is very chummy, they're joking in meetings, and then the other shoe drops, and so you always kind of want to keep a level of professionalism with the client. But after you've gone a couple rounds, worked your first second project, you know kind of when it's good, and and that's why the self-deprecating humor is always a safe spot. I mean, you can make fun of yourself. You don't want to make fun of your customer. You probably shouldn't make fun of your boss, although some people did when I was their boss, Jerry. But other than that, and that's where again, you're right. As you move up, and that's part of what people I don't think talk about as they seek to advance their career. There's a healthy level of ambition, and you should want to better yourself, but it can, if that is the overriding goal, you can find yourself in a role that isn't fun anymore, or one
Sure.
that isn't exactly what you like to do. I think of people that I've worked with who loved the technology, they loved what they were doing, they loved being hands-on with customers, and so they worked hard, got promoted to a manager role, and now they can't work they don't really work with the technology, they get obsolete, and they're not really working with customers. Now, some people are great as managers and they love doing that, but I always say if you want to be promoted, A, do the best, get all the learning you can from your current role and make sure you're good at that. But secondly, really have a good why for why you want to do that. Because I can tell you, moving to management, you'll have people reporting to you very often that will make more money than you do. Somebody who's really effective as an architect and is highly billed, or other types of roles, frequently with bonuses and things like that, you might find that you have more responsibility, but you don't really have more authority. It's kind of weird. It's like I can't really decide to fire anybody. Not that I want to go off and fire anybody, but it's kind of like that was kind of the wake up call for me. Is like even somebody going three levels above you has somebody they've got to answer to, has pressures. Those pressures become amplified, and so it's kind of like understanding kind of what really drives you, what you enjoy, and how you can best and most effectively do that.
If you are liking the conversation, be sure to let me know by liking the video and commenting down below what it is specifically you are getting out of it. And if you are interested in learning more about the Microsoft Power Platform, you're going to want to click on the first link down in the description down below to get access to a beginner's Power Platform guide led by me. This is a completely free, self-paced course that has hand-picked knowledge, everything that you need to know to be able to go and get your first Microsoft certification as soon as possible. The reality is not a lot of people can say they love what they do, and I feel very blessed to be able to say that I enjoy what I do for work as a Microsoft consultant. And if you want to start that journey alongside me today, be sure to follow and click on the first link down in the description down below. Now let's get back to the conversation. Okay, so you advise making the most of your current role
Yeah.
before moving on. And as you're talking about here, like, I think this is a really interesting sentiment that I want to dive into. Because, I mean, the tech industry in general, it can feel very transactional for people in their careers and their jobs. And, oh, well, I'm getting more over here. And you see people jumping every 9 months or whatever. Like,
Right.
why do you carry that sentiment? I mean, how long have you been at Hitachi now? Before it was
I'm in my
Hitachi, right?
19th year, so I am officially an old timer. But
Like that is incredible and unheard of. Like
but what I
what?
would say
Why?
is, if you broke that up, my average role has lasted 3.5 to 4 years. So it's not that I am, just staying in the same role in the same company. It's been like, I think it's been three different companies. The first company was Customer Effective. That went to 2014. Second one was 2014 to 2018. Third, we're probably in fourth company right now, if you look at kind of the structure and things like that. And to me, to explain the long arc here, I need to explain some of the things that happened in my personal life that, definitely, if things had been different, probably it would have been different. So first of all, I adopted two kids between 2006 and 2008, and that needed complete focus from me during that time, because the adoption process was very time consuming, very, emotionally taxing, because we actually had one adoption process that didn't complete, because thankfully the birth mom changed her mind, and that's great. But then my son, who is turning 17 in 2 weeks, which all these stuff makes me feel very old. Uh, but we literally found out he was coming the night before. We drove to my
Wow.
pastor's house, picked up and borrowed their pack and play, and went to Walmart and bought some diapers. I mean, the other kid, we had like a 6 month time we knew, and we had the nursery and had everything pristine. My son literally slept in a room, not undecorated room, in a pack and play for a year, and he's fine. The whole the baby thing, the crib, the liners, that's all a big scam to get you to spend money. The baby doesn't know the difference, and you got to get rid of the crib and the stuff by the time they can stand up anyway. So, that in hindsight, it worked out pretty well. So then that happened. But the second thing that happened was my wife had a congenital heart defect, which I knew when we got married, but around 2010, she had a major heart surgery. 2012, which was not exactly, 2 weeks ago was exactly the 13th anniversary of this. She had a heart, liver, and kidney transplant, one of only 5 people in the U.S. that have had that combination. So through all that, this company was very loyal to me. They basically accommodated my work schedule and were very supportive of that. But essentially at that point, I was the first architect on the CRM team. I had basically I was looking at how I could advance my roles, but I had to make a decision because all that stuff going in personal life is like. And I saw people that started at the same time or shortly after getting promoted to director roles and things like that. And I can't do this. I mean, I can't chase this. I need to trust God. I need to, focus on what's important. Though, like when we adopted my son, that was when I became an MVP, and it was because I would get up to feed him, and then I'd be wide awake and like, I guess I'll write a blog post now, and I actually use that to my advantage. But getting back to the point there is like you gotta be realistic, because career is important, but it's second to what's more important. And also I've just learned that this life is both shorter and longer than you think. You think when you're younger that, oh, I got advanced, by the time I'm 30 I need to be a manager or something like that, and you really don't. And the technology changes so fast, your boss will change, things will change, nothing is permanent. And so having a longer term game, you don't have to feel like you're competing with everybody else. And if you don't know how to manage yourself, you're not ready to manage anybody else. So things like time management, things like getting your stuff done on time, keeping your commitments, and developing enough experience. But that's rare in the technology world, especially, and this is kind of like one of the moments where, so you meet people on the Microsoft product team, and there's great people on the Microsoft product team, but what you realize is that person probably will be on a different team next year. And what I would say is, it's not that they don't care. They do care very much about what they're doing and the quality they're delivering, but all this stuff that we do could be gone in 5 years. I mean, who knows if Power Apps as we know them now will be here? Who knows where Copilot will be? Who knows if Dynamics will be a front-end graphical interface, if it'll be a back-end service that feeds agents? Who knows? And that's how things have changed. So I guess taking this mindset, I'm definitely not saying you have to stay working for the same company for 19, 20 years. But what I'm saying is, you don't need to worry about it as much as some people do. You should have a plan, but as my career path has shown, the plan you make and the reality will be different. So you need to be adaptable and flexible, keep learning, figure out what you like, figure out what you don't like. And the main thing for jumping jobs or promotion is really understanding why you're doing it. Some people do it out of desperation. I've seen people leave jobs because of the project they're on, which in my opinion is kind of short-sighted, because your project is temporary. Even you got to put up with pain for 6 months, something different will come along. But, if you're not in the right fit, or you want to grow and you find an opportunity, really understanding. And one of my favorite things to do in my career has been finding ways to do the thing that new role includes before I wear that suit of clothes. Try it on ahead of time. So a great thing is, if you think you would like to move into more of a sales related role, like a TS or a sales go-to-market SA or something like that, is offer to help with estimating a deal or doing a discovery call. Take some of your personal time to do that. If you're thinking you might want to go into project management, shadow a project manager, and don't wait for somebody to, an official program. Build relationships with people in those roles, as well as the community as well. If you have people who work somewhere that you think, or you see an opportunity there, find somebody who's done that and talk to them, and not the title, but the things they do, find ways to do them and say, is this something I'd be good at? And by doing that, then you're building experience doing that thing, so that when you interview for that role or things like that, you can refer to the experience you have doing that thing.
Yeah. Man, what do you I guess I have another question as well, and just talking about those transitions at the same company.
Yep.
I feel like sometimes, not that it's malicious, but I feel like sometimes people can have, maybe be labeled something, or have a certain, like, the people that they work with see them through this certain lens.
Yes.
Like, and I feel like a lot of times people can encourage going somewhere else because you get a fresh start. You get to, you can come in then as the expert, say as the junior. Like, what would you say to that person? How were you able to kind of overcome that, going from role to role to role within the same organization?
So I've definitely been typecast, as the insert thing here person, because you have success doing that and people see success. That can be a great plus, because people who are very good working on healthcare related projects can, are say, oh, we know Griffin's a safe choice because he's done this before. He's got the history to do that. What I found was some of it was not by my choice, where I got put in a totally different role with a different manager who didn't know me from that role. But even within a team, identifying if you are typecast there, and then looking for what can you do to differentiate yourself from that. So I've known people who, for example, got very good with field service. I would mention Angela Warland. She got good with field service, and she was known as a field service person, but she was like, no offense against field service, I really want to do something different. And so she has established herself as the Power Platform governance person, and she legitimately loves Power Platform governance, and helping customers. And it's kind of like therapy to watch her. She's kind of like the governance therapist, because everybody has a messy default environment. Everybody has flows and apps they don't know if they're last time they run. And so it's coming up with a plan for not just how do you clean it up, but how do you do that. So I think that's where meet more people. If you're typecast and you feel like you're stuck, meet more people, meet people that do other things, find out about that, and then make a plan for doing that. I think AI has made it easier than ever to learn stuff. You can do a learning plan on how to do whatever, and Microsoft Learn, all that stuff is there. But I would say also on soft skills, kind of like if you're not thought of in the role to do something like this. I'll give you some good examples. So being able to have hard conversations with people, other things like that, because a lot of times people that are in not the delivery role, but the people who are the CDP or the people who are the lead SA or things like that, a lot of their job is not the technical side. It is that, but it's also more like negotiation, and that's where reading books and learning in those areas to specifically do that, and then finding a way to put yourself. So let's say the next time you have a problem on your project, and rather than just pulling in the project manager, brainstorm with them about, okay, the customer says this is what's in scope, how should we handle that? And having those conversations and learning will be doing that. And then third, if there's a opportunity that opens for a new role that's kind of in that area, a lot of people won't interview for it until they feel like, hey, I'm 100% or I'm 90% ready for this. There's a benefit in going through the process of interviewing for that role, because you start thinking about, okay, what can I bring to this role? What experience do I have? How would I handle this situation if I was in that role? And by doing that, I mean, when I was graduating from college, I interviewed for jobs that there was no way I even wanted, just to get some experience and talking to people and things like that. And I learned things from them even though again ultimately I had no shot in getting that job, I think there's a plus in just the mental exercise and thinking through that.
Ah, what have you? Okay, you introduced kind of a what I think kind of the final topic I wanted to discuss with you, and that was kind of building this power platform practice at Hitachi. And I don't know what would be the best term to call it that's universal that people would understand, right? But
Yeah.
like building that practice and building it to a point where it was partner of the year in some capacity. And so like what were kind of the nuggets of gold that you took from that, of building that into a successful practice, of building the right, I want to say people, not resources, like building the right people, the right team around to make sure it was successful, the things that embodied as, kind of the formal leader of that in doing that. And I'm sure you'll be the first to admit you couldn't have done it on your own. Like, what did that look like? What are the pieces that help make that practice that you were so involved in successful?
Yeah, so definitely the people. I mean, without the people who are the best in the world at Power Platform, we wouldn't be successful. Taking it back, I was an MVP for 14 years, and I at MVP Summit 2015 or 2016, they showed the preview of what would become Power Apps and also Microsoft Flow, which became Power Automated. This was pre-Dataverse, pre-Common Data Model, or they had, and essentially at that point, which 2012 to 2015 is kind of a dark chapter in the Dynamics history because it was stagnant. Salesforce was kicking our butts at every turn. They were acquiring new things. There were some misguided acquisitions, and effectively, what became model driven apps had some hard borders of where you could go. Workflow was just within the walls of the application, and seeing the potential for that to basically break out and do things that, I'm sorry, but building a CRM 2015 application that was trying to be a claims management system wasn't a good fit because you couldn't tailor the UI to the level you needed to. So seeing the ability to do that. And so that immediately piqued my interest, and started looking for ways to do that. And then in 2018, we had our first real project after Dataverse came out, which was for a credit union for a teller management system that looked like the McDonald's easy Fisher Price checkout system for the common actions they would take to service members as they came into the branch. And so from that, it grew, and then COVID was a big driver of that because of all the remote workers and the legacy systems not supporting it. So part of it was great timing for that because again, all that we couldn't predict, and the demand and Microsoft's demand and the things we did building all the Teams Teams apps, templates, and other things like that really cemented our reputation. And so doing that, that's led to uh, quite a successful run with Power Platform. The fear that a lot of people had, and I think is still out there in many partners, is that have a successful Dynamics practice. They're worried that Power Apps is going to cannibalize Dynamics. Like they have a successful baby with their Dynamics practice. And Dynamics business, because of the nature of the more complex processes, higher integrations, things like that, is always going to be magnitude bigger than the average Power App. But what we figured out in the process was, how do you do it at scale and do it really well through governance, through models that are not just, hey, I'm going to do a single Power App, but rather I'm going to implement a platform. And we've seen customers now that have thousands of people successfully building things with Power Platform. And that methodology is great for Copilot and Studio agents too. Each agent is pretty small, but if you come up with a strategy for governance, a playbook of how to do it right, and then a plan on how you do it at scale, it drives the cost down per agent or app. And it also, we learned that you gotta, customers hire people, and low code and Copilot Studio, they want to be able to do a lot of themselves. So we're not afraid of working with with a customer and having them do development side by side with us. So that's really kind of the different mindset, and just kind of reading what customers want and what they want to buy, and also just how you've got to adapt to where the customer's coming from, because you got customers, and it feels like what people went with through with Power Apps 5 years ago, they're now going through with Copilot Studio, which is they're playing with the technology, they're trying to figure out where they use it, when they should use it, when they shouldn't use it, and then from there, how do we secure it and how do we scale it? And so a lot of the playbook approach we follow for Power Platform, for Power Apps, Power Automate works great for Copilot Studio as well. And so through that, finding the right people, some of who were Dynamics people, but also given that Power Platform and Copilot Studio have their foot firmly in Microsoft 365, you need SharePoint, you need other things like that. You can't be the partner that says everything has to be on Dataverse, because there's a whole world that's not, and things that make more sense to be that. And then finding the right people. The challenge of which is, even now, there's nobody that has 15 years of experience in Power Platform. There just isn't. And so it's people who have learned, who know how to do things kind of in an enterprise-friendly way. I have interviewed a lot of people who want to move into Power Platform consulting. And, I've seen a lot of times people come in having built a few apps or a few automations and having had success, but they don't know how to do ALM. They don't know how solutions work. They don't know how, to really make things, look nice. And then it's coming up. So it's understanding and how to adapt and learn. And there's some great stories like Matt Devaney, who before he joined us, he had never really touched Dataverse. He was a SharePoint. He's an accountant. He's a CPA. And then to see the way that he has really adapted and grown to now, he's one of the lead people for ALM, for example, for Power Platform Solutions and things like that. But also he still is very, his blog is great, and he still focuses on the people who are just learning this and pulls people up to do this. So that's where it comes from. And so again, not really any secret there. I'm pretty open about what we did, but through that, just kind of meeting customers where they are and adapting as technology changes.
Yeah, I think that's super insightful. I think how could I possibly argue? I'm not doing that, but I think you're totally right, right? In just from my experience and what I've lived, I think everything you've said there is awesome. So we are about at time. Joel, this conversation's been awesome. I want to go to the after hours happy hour and
Great.
talk to you a little bit more about some of your hobbies. Yeah, I've already finished mine. But you mentioned you're a big dog person. Before we even started, I'll go first. I grew up with dogs, like medium-sized dogs. And right now my family, we have a rescue pit bull. And she was, I don't know if she ever made it on camera, but was at my feet for a little bit. Medium-sized dog person. My wife has never had a dog, but wants a little miniature wiener dog. And so we will probably compromise and get a little miniature wiener dog. But nonetheless, I'm not sold at this point in time. What's your dog experience? You mentioned you're a big dog person.
So I have pretty much in my adult life never been without a dog, and I know people that their dog passes away and they're so heartbroken they can't get another one. I need two dogs. I need a backup dog, because your primary might break down, and they need to be substantial dogs. My golden retriever is 80 pounds, and I've got a French Brittany. She's 30 to 35 pounds, so it's probably medium size. An interesting thing, though, not to argue with your wife or anything, but you're much more likely to get bitten and have to get medical treatment from a small dog, and the number one are dachshunds. Seriously,
I believe it. I believe it.
and I mean they can tear you up. So I'm just saying the substantial dogs are the way to go. The ones you can kind of like, the only problem my golden retriever has is he's a sock stealer. So it's like he literally will, if he watches me and if I take socks off, he goes and grabs them and carries them around his mouth. But other than that, he's a good boy.
That's so funny. No, I think There's a lot to be said. I mean, they are man's best friend. I don't know if there's any cat people out there, but I'm not particularly a cat person. But no, I think there's something really special about dogs and the companion
Cats
that they have.
fascinate me, but I think they're out to kill you.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Have
do.
you? Okay.
They always, you don't know what they're up to, and they look like they're plotting something.
I had heard, I don't know how true this is, but I had heard that there's stories where somebody will say like pass away in their house, maybe unexpectedly or
Cat
whatever,
will eat you.
and
Yes,
the
I've heard
cat will
that too.
eat them, but the dog will just like starve and die next to you. I'm like,
The
all right,
dog
well there
will
you
lay
go.
down. Yeah, you hear the
That's
stories
yeah,
about the guy
that's it right
dies
there,
and the
done deal.
dog goes and lays down by his grave every day for 10 years. Or there was a dog in Japan that, rode the subway, and after his owner died, he still rode the subway just to remember his owner. The dogs are awesome.
Yeah. Well, sweet man, I agree. I'm a dog person as well. Joel, thank you so much for being here and just the time you've given me. If people were listening to this and were impacted in some way and wanted to get in contact with you, what would be the best way to reach you?
LinkedIn is good. I check my messages there every couple weeks. I don't go there often. LinkedIn kind of irritates me after a while, but I do use it. That's about the only social network I'm currently semi-active on. So
Yeah.
that was probably the best way.
Perfect. I'll have a link to that down in the description down below. And thanks again for being here. And thank you to you for sticking to the end of the video. My name is Griffin Lickfeld, the host of the Citizen Developer channel and Power Talks podcast.